Morning, everyone. Welcome to this webinar on apprenticeships, which is cleverly designed to coincide with National Apprenticeships Week. And we're going to be spending around 45 minutes talking about apprenticeships and giving some insights into apprenticeships with some expert speakers this morning. Hopefully, by the end of this session, you'll go away with some additional insights into apprenticeships, a bit of an update on some crucial changes to apprenticeships that have taken place recently, and also hopefully some increased confidence in what apprenticeships can bring to you and your business. So let's get started. I'd like to introduce our panel this morning, and we have a formidable panel of experts. We have Sara Gaskell, manager of the Lancashire Skills and Employment Hub. Sara can tell you a little bit more about herself and her role when she presents. And we have Vanessa Carthy, Learning and Development Manager for Careers at Lancashire County Council. So welcome to Sara and Vanessa. I'm Morag Davis. I'm the Group Executive Director for Strategy and Transformation at East Lancashire Learning Group, and I'm responsible for East Lancashire Apprenticeships. So just some housekeeping before we start. If you're watching the webinar live, you can pop some questions in the chat. There's going to be a Q&A at the end where hopefully we'll get through some of your questions. And we will be sharing a link to the recording at the end of the webinar if anyone's missed it. Could I have the next slide, please? So what I wanted to do was a little bit today about recruiting apprenticeships, some key updates, and also about the benefits of apprenticeships if you're not that familiar with them, and if you're just considering approaching apprenticeships for the first time. And also how we can support you as a provider in sourcing apprenticeships and developing your workforce. Next slide, please. Now, this may be very familiar to some of you, but I wanted to just provide a few basics about apprenticeships because there have been some crucial changes recently. So an apprentice is someone who is in a paid job. They're working for you and your business, but they're also learning at the same time. So it's paid employment, but they are spending a certain amount of time learning. So they will be doing on-the-job training, which includes learning how to perform the job. And they will be doing off-the-job training, which is a statutory requirement. So the employer has to agree to allow the apprentice to leave sometimes the place of employment to carry out their off-the-job training. And this is essential for them to gain the knowledge, skills and behaviours that they need in order to learn how to do the job. And there have been some changes recently. It used to be that the off-the-job training was 20% of the apprenticeship. That is now determined by the individual apprenticeship standard. So some of you may be familiar with the 20% off the job. That now varies and it depends on the individual standard, and your provider will be able to explain that. Apprentices are assessed through an endpoint assessment. So at the end of their apprenticeship, they will be assessed on the knowledge, skills and behaviours they've developed. But another recent change that's been introduced is that there will be ongoing assessment of apprentices in addition to endpoint assessment. So your apprentice won't just be being assessed at the end of their apprenticeship, they'll be being assessed by their provider and by their coaches throughout their apprenticeship. So that's another important change to the way that apprenticeships are being delivered. Could I have the next slide, please? Now, obviously, employers have a number of choices when it comes to developing their workforce. And I wanted to focus on some of the real benefits of taking on an apprentice as an employer. And I think the first thing is it's that cost-effective workforce development. When you take on an apprentice, you're taking on the raw material so you can shape them into the role that you want them to do. And this is really important, especially when you're taking on a young person. It's about how we can collaboratively develop that young person into that role. So they fully understand the culture, the workplace practices, and the skills that they need to be productive in your business. And what we're seeing is that young people, especially as apprentices, are bringing in new ideas. They're bringing in digital skills, especially. Young people are all over AI. They're digital natives, so they can really bring in that spark and that creativity into your business. And of course, we're closing skills gaps as well. We're improving staff retention. So it's almost like, in some cases, a try before you buy. We have options such as taking on a learner, a T-level learner on a work placement. And if you're happy with them, flipping that into an apprenticeship. So you're involved as an employer right through from the very beginning on that development journey. And of course, there are all sorts of benefits to existing staff. Your staff can be mentors. They're developing their own skills by passing them on onto the apprentice as well. So there is national insurance relief for employers, and Sara or Vanessa may be able to add a little bit more information about that when they do their presentations. But I think that it's the real benefits and real measurable benefits to employers by taking on an apprentice. Next slide, please. Now, there are several levels of apprenticeships, and it's all about what the best fit is for your business. It may be that you're taking on someone brand new. It may be that you have a current employee who you want to put onto an apprenticeship, and it depends on the level of the job role. So each apprenticeship is matched to a standard, which is a set of knowledge, skills, and behaviours at a particular level. So starting at level 2, and then going up to levels 6 and 7. And each of those corresponds to an educational level as well. So an apprentice who's doing level 6, level 7, they're doing the equivalent to a degree or a master's. In terms of maths and English and entry requirements, again, there have been some really significant changes here. So if an apprentice is over the age of 19 when they start their apprenticeship, they don't necessarily have to continue with maths and English if they haven't achieved level 2. Now, this is the responsibility of the employer and the apprentice to decide whether they should do that in order to support their further development. But if they're over 19, in most cases, it's no longer a requirement. So that's another important change. Next slide, please. So some other changes to update you on. Shorter apprenticeships, and this is really in response to employer feedback. Who employers have been saying that they wanted shorter apprenticeships. The government's responded to this. So now the minimum duration of apprenticeship is 8 months. So that's something that employers can perhaps look at as something a more flexible approach to apprenticeship. So we have our foundation apprenticeships, which are new as well, our level 2 apprenticeships, usually around 8 months. We've got those in construction, engineering, digital, health, and social care. And this is a brand new form of apprenticeship. And from this, a foundation apprenticeship can become a level 2 or a level 3 apprenticeship, depending on where that learner needs to progress to. And that it's really designed for young people, so 16 to 21, but up to 24 if they have an education healthcare plan, or if they're in care or have been in care, or if they're in prison or have been in prison. So there are some flexibilities around that, but the foundation apprenticeship is our brand new offer at level 2. And then from there they can progress on to other apprenticeships after that. As I said, maths and English is no longer mandatory. And also the change to the minimum wage. So the apprenticeship is the minimum wage, it's £8. So that's the same as the national minimum wage. Next slide, please. So here at East Lancashire Apprenticeships, we have certain priority sectors which really reflect Lancashire's priority sectors as well. So we've developed our apprenticeship offer to really meet employers' needs in those key sectors where we know there are significant skill shortages. Especially things like ageing workforce in manufacturing and engineering, or where there's a really significant need, such as in healthcare. And you'll see there on the list, I won't go through them all. We've got some exciting upcoming offers as well. So in the next months and years, we'll be introducing dental nurse apprenticeship, electrical installation, motor vehicle maintenance, plumbing, software development. So our offer is growing all the time. So if you are interested in taking on an apprentice and you're not sure where they sit, or perhaps it's not on this list, do get in touch and talk to us, and we can see if there's an apprenticeship standard to fit. Next slide, please. And finally, it's much more simple than you think. I think a lot of employers are a little bit concerned about how complicated apprenticeships can be, and it doesn't have to be complicated. We've got a team who are here to help you plan your workforce development in the short term, but also over the long term as well. It's straightforward. We can talk you through the options. We can talk you through the range of options around the other offers we have. We've got adults, we've got HE in our university centre. We've got T-level students who might be ready to start an apprenticeship. So it's really about what's best for your business. So we can give you that advice and a range of options available. You'll have a dedicated account manager. And also, once you've decided you want an apprentice, we'll go through a process of co-creation with you. So we will work with you to develop the detail of that apprenticeship, so it's the right thing for you and your business. So it is about having a set standard, which includes knowledge, skills and behaviours. But the important thing is how that fits in for you and your business, and how we can meet your needs. And we have a brilliant team of business development managers who will be able to support you with that. So that's it from me. And I'm going to hand over now to Sara Gaskell.
Apologies, technical difficulties there. Good afternoon, everybody, or near afternoon. Thank you for inviting me on to talk today during National Apprenticeship Week. It is a great opportunity to be able to share the fabulous stuff that's going on in Lancashire across the patch. So I'm mainly talking about the devolution of adult skills funds today. But I wanted just to sort of bring that wraparound conversation in, where am I sharing the right slides here now?
Yes.
Yes, perfect. Yep. It's just come up with a different view. So I'm Sara Gaskell, I'm Managed Lancashire Skills and Employment Hub, and currently working towards the devolution of adult skills funds. So Lancashire is now a combined county authority, which means that we will have access to additional funds and additional flexibilities. It's a basic deal that Lancashire has got currently, but our opportunity to be able to show government that we are able to practically and purposefully use devolved funds for, you know, things like skills initiatives that we're talking about today. The other pot of funding that we get early doors is transport, but please don't ask me about that. That's not my area of expertise, but let's talk about Adult Skills Fund. So from August 2026, we will be in receipt of about £43 million worth of Adult Skills Fund. And the Adult Skills Fund is a pot of funding, and I'll explain the details in a moment. But prior to devolution, we're working a considerable amount of time in consultation with providers like colleagues around the table, with businesses and other stakeholders to look at what was needed for Lancashire. And what was been decided for the devolution of Adult Skills Fund is more of kind of an evolutionary as opposed to revolutionary approach. What we wanted to do was make sure that there was continuation of funding prior to, you know, making a lot of changes. So just to take us back a slight step, so those that don't know who the Lancashire Skills and Employment Hub is, we are a strategic team. We do not deliver anything ourselves. We are completely impartial. So we support the colleges and businesses with getting messages out, with supporting with the right advice at the right time. And we have a plethora of colleagues that do it. And we do it across 4 key themes. So our first key theme is future workforce. So this is how we get involved with schools and colleges through both ourselves and our colleagues in the Careers Hub team. And we really get the message out about how we can interlink businesses with colleges so that our young people or our future generation of trainees, apprentices, stars in your sector are able to get that really informed information about what it's like to work in your business or what it's like to work in the sector. So they're more able to make informed choices when they move on to the next qualification or actually into a career, supporting sort of the recruitment and retention of staff in there. Inclusive workforce is all of the projects that we do with our adults. So long history of working with Lancashire Adult Learning here and supporting our adults on an escalator. So finding a hook that gets people engaged in skills and training and enables them to progress up the ladder and hopefully in some cases into sustainable employment. So really, you know, really worthwhile sector there. We've also got skilled and productive workforce. This is where we work with businesses on upskilling. So all the upskilling opportunities that are available to businesses across Lancashire, whether that be through skills boot camps or by access to things like Adult Skills Fund. And last but not least, our social value. Social value is massively important to us here at the Lancashire Skills and Employment Hub. We have a one front door a system we've set up called the Lancashire Skills Pledge, which enables businesses to be able to access all this information that I've mentioned to you. And I'll come on to that and I'll pop the link in. So let's just go back to talk about devolution. So from August 26, we will be in receipt of the Adult Skills Fund. As previously mentioned, 42 million, circa 42 million, considerable amount of sounding money, but this has always in the past been devolved by government bodies to the colleges and large providers to be able to deliver a plethora of opportunities for residents across Lancashire. This is a first step in devolution. We are expecting further developments to be able to come out, so there will be other funds devolved to us. One of them will be skills boot camps, and what this does, it enables us to make a Lancashire change to it. So that national model, you know, we're not a London, we're not a Devon and Cornwall, we are a Lancashire, and therefore we need to make sure that our sectors are hit for businesses and that the skills that we are supplying meet the needs of our residents and our businesses going forward for economic growth. So we've done a lot of research prior to this August, obviously, as you can imagine, to be able to ensure that we are looking at what is being delivered, what should be delivered, and how that meets the needs of residents and businesses. But it does give us the ability to be a little bit flexible. So one of the flexibilities that we're looking at is there is, to access Adult Skills Fund, people have to be on a certain wage limit. What we're looking at is raising that, so that enables an extra 500, just about 50,000 to 500,000 people, depending what course they do, to access Adult Skills Fund. So there's just some changes that we are putting, and as we grow and as we get more devolution funding, and as we look at how things are working and we evolve and we you know, sort of have consultations and various other things, we'll be able to decide if this particular type of way is working, and maybe we'll make some other changes. But it gives us the ability to really do a place-based model, and sort of try and get out to, you know, some of our really difficult areas where we've got sort of, we really need to engage with more people. So, you know, there are pockets of rurality in Lancashire that we need to be able to make sure that our people are not at a disadvantage and that they're able to access skills support. We're looking at clear pathways from Adult Skills Fund, so maybe starting at lower level qualifications and then moving up to things like skills boot camps, so that they're able to do level 3 and above qualifications that support them into employment, or actually upskill them in employment. And I wanted to mention Connect to Work here as well, which is for people who are maybe have a barrier to becoming employed. So maybe they have physical or mental barriers to gaining employment. The Connect to Work programme is a brand new programme. It has some support for people who could be on the programme maybe 12 months. It's a supported employment model. It's quite an intensive supported employment model, but fabulous of people. We've got over 300 people on it now, and we've already started to see our first job outcomes from people who really didn't think they'd be able to get a job before. There is also a business facing element of Connect to Work. So 90% of businesses in Lancashire are SMEs who may not have the HR function to be able to support people who may have a fit note, or how we can stop people from becoming economically inactive. And there's a Connect to Work offer in there for businesses. So we're strengthening partnerships across the patch with local authorities, skills providers, and all of what we've talked about is really relying on business support. And I know we ask businesses an awful lot of things, but you know, there's an increase in young people getting apprenticeships. We see a drop every year in those 16 to 19-year-olds getting an apprenticeship. We really need to sort of book that trend and get our young people on apprenticeships early, and sort of to get people into work through things like skills boot camps. It's all about supporting businesses with what they need. So next slide here is a little overview of the Adult Skills Fund. So we have got some grant funded providers. We are working with one today. So East Lancashire Learning Group previously would have received their funding from the Department for Education. There will just be a swap that that fund comes to us, and we will then devolve it through to the colleges and private providers who've been working across Lancashire. We're also so there's two parts of Adult Skills Fund. There is work for skills and work for jobs. So there's elements of the Skills for Life, which is English, maths, digital, and then Skills for Work, which is more of a kind of a vocational function. Also got free courses for jobs, which is skills available for level 3 qualifications. And there is also, what we are trying to do is bring in some innovation. So where we've got people in pockets who are voting with their feet to really small voluntary faith sector organisations, we're hoping to roll out some community grant programmes. So we'll be able to fund some smaller providers to deliver niche Adult Skills Fund. Alongside devolution, we have been devising the Get Lancashire Working Plan. This is based on Get Britain Working campaign, and it's to support government's thought process. We want to get at least 80% of our residents into good employment, and good employment for me is different from what good employment for you might look like. It's a good sustainable work that's appropriate for my lifestyle. And we're aware in regions in Lancashire that we're above 80% employment already, but this isn't about sort of that overall picture. This is about the wards and the districts where we need to make the most difference and to ensure our residents have support to be able for them to access work. So again, really working with businesses on what businesses need. So finally, how if I had a call to action for businesses, it would be come and speak to us through the Lancashire Skills Pledge. It's one front door for businesses to find out about skills initiatives and opportunities across Lancashire. We have 9 pledges in total, and it gives you the opportunity to get impartial advice about what's best for businesses. And then we refer the people back to people like the colleges and private providers to be able to do that. But if, for example, we're talking about apprenticeships, it gives us the opportunity to have a look at whether apprenticeship's the most route for you. Would a T-level placement be better? It's about getting businesses to offer what's best for them, and not necessarily, you know, what's best for me sat here in the world. Also, it enables us to advise that we still have a few of our grants of £3,000 for businesses if they're an SME who haven't took on an apprentice before and are based in Lancashire. Businesses, if they are looking for support and guidance, we will, alongside the colleges, support that business to be able to get an apprentice. They'll get 1,500 when they start and 1,500 once that apprentice has been in place for 3 months, and they do a little case study or something for us, which is super duper. So skills pledges, those are our 9 pledges. Obviously today we're just looking at National Apprenticeship Week, and amongst our 9 pledges we have take on an apprentice where we can support with an impartial advice and guidance, and also become an apprentice ambassador. So sort of share your experience as a business or a resident of being an apprentice or a business that takes on apprentices. Lots of other pledges on there for you to have a look at. And the business benefits really of the skills pledges, it enables you to access free impartial advice. We also signpost to colleges who pick up some of the pledges. So, for example, the T-level pledge is picked up by all our colleges across Lancashire. The Care Leavers pledge is picked up by Lancashire County Council Care Leaving Team. And then we have other projects that we can bring in for you. So the business benefits really of sort of logging onto our website, looking at the skills pledge and having a look at what it is, the most convenient and appropriate thing for you, because that's what it's about. It's about the needs of businesses. Maybe that apprenticeships is the best way for you, but it's about doing what you can. It's about speaking to your colleges, telling them what the skills needs are. They have a list. They've provided a list of all the fabulous stuff that's available, but unless you speak to them, you won't know what they can do for you, what can be bespoke for a business, so that we can support the ageing population that we've mentioned and our skills shortages across Lancashire. So a bit of a mixed pack really there for you. Try to cover a bit of devolution and where support is available. So hope useful. My email address is on the front slide. So if you've got any questions, happy to support.
Thank you very much, Sara. I think that really highlights the crucial work in joining up skills, and you know, skills and work, skills and employment, and some really good advice there on how employers and people who are looking to upskill can access that. Thank you very much. So I'd just like to introduce another speaker. We've got Stephen Bell, Senior Partnership Lead from the Department of Work and Pensions. Welcome, Stephen. So I wonder if you could just follow on from Sara's presentation there and tell us a little bit about your work at DWP.
Absolutely. Good morning, everybody. Sorry I was a couple of minutes late. The wonders of IT, but thrilled to be here now. I've actually got a short PowerPoint. I can share my screen if that's okay. So if you just bear with me a second.
That would be great. Thanks, Stephen. And thank you for jumping on despite the technical issues.
Okay, just let me know when you can see my screen. I'm hoping there's a PowerPoint there now, or it's on its way over. Can we see that?
Yes, we can see that. Thank you.
Excellent. Okay. There we go. Okay, so as I said, good morning, everybody. My name's Steve Bell. I am the Employer and Partnership one of the leaders covering Lancashire and Cheshire. I'm actually sat in Warrington today speaking to you. But what I just wanted to touch on really is about the DWP offer and what our priorities are and how we can support what Sarah's just been talking about this morning, really about, get Lancashire working and our place within that. So yeah, just some headlines really, and I'm happy to take any questions either now or later. But the employer recruitment support landscape within Department for Work and Pensions is designed really to streamline and simplify how employers across Lancashire can access talent and recruitment services. The priority focuses on ensuring that employers experience a coherent and easy system really that connects them directly with high quality support. And we've put an awful lot of time and effort to sort of refine our process and how we support employers, because we appreciate the landscape for employers is quite challenging. And central to the landscape really is the promotion of our core employer facing office. So these include vacancy management. We can do specific job matching depending on roles. We also have the sector-based work academy program, SWAPs. So I'm not too sure if everyone's aware of what that is, but that is where we link in and co-design a program of work with employers, what suits their needs. We can look at individual training packages, and then they ask from us then at the end of that period, there's a short placement of a work experience and a guaranteed job interview at the end with the employer. But that makes sure we get the right people for those recruitment opportunities. So that's a really good scheme that we roll out across Lancashire. We also have work trials, work experience, and we can also support with access to work guidance as well, which collectively our aim is to reduce recruitment friction and enhance the labour market outcomes, which is really important. Our employers benefit from a sort of unified approach really that aligns interventions with our key growth sectors and the labour market dynamics, ensuring that support is not only accessible but strategically focused really on areas of high demand such as care, hospitality, logistics and digital roles. So this approach also reinforces the importance of collaborative working between us, local authorities, the chambers of commerce, training providers and our LSIP partners as well to strengthen the overall sort of ecosystem. By presenting a consistent and high level employer offer, DWP reinforces its commitment really to making recruitment simpler, increasing employer engagement and driving job creation across Lancashire. We've got a real talent pool across some of our customers that we're supporting and transmoving to work, and by working with the employers and understanding the employers' needs, more importantly, we're pretty confident that with the support network we have in place, we can ensure we have the right candidates to support job vacancies. So how do you get involved and what can we do to support you? So employers in Lancashire have got multiple routes really to connect to candidates, each aligned with our priority to improve job matching and support, which is we want to make sure we've got sustainable outcomes really. And one of the primary methods is via our tailored work coach referrals, where candidates are matched according to employer defined criteria to improve job fit retention. So this is complemented by recruitment events and jobs fairs, which some of you may have been involved with previously, within DWP sites or employer premises, so enabling direct engagement and increasing the visibility of available opportunities. District-wide recruitment campaigns, which support high volume hiring in sectors facing persistent vacancies, which we know is a challenge, to ensure employers can source candidates efficiently. Additionally, as I've mentioned before, SWAT pipelines provide an employer with a designed training pathway that produces job-ready individuals with specific competencies for the roles that employers need, thereby reducing skills mismatches, which is important. Employers also benefit from specialist pipelines supporting youth. We have a youth hub, we have the youth offer where we support our young people specifically. We have our 50+ teams as well, and also supporting our customers with health conditions or disabilities. And these pathways, which we tailor depending on the customer's needs, ensure that broader and more inclusive talent pool, reflecting our commitment to support diverse recruitment needs as well. So, clear action for employers is to ensure that employers across Lancashire receive swift and effective support. DWP emphasises a single and clear call to action really to contact our DWP employer engagement team that are based in all the job centres across Lancashire. We've got a designated inbox which I can share later, and the local employer advisors are really knowledgeable and can work with you to make sure we get the right fit for your employer needs. The streamlined approach removes sort of ambiguity and directs employers to a dedicated team capable of mobilising a coordinated response. So employers are encouraged to prepare key information for us in advance, which helps us through the process. So including job titles, hours, work locations, start dates, and essential skills and qualifications. So our ask would be that you can also confirm with us if you can offer a work trial. Would you be happy to participate in a swap co-design and provide that guaranteed interview for some of our customers, or accommodate adjustments as part of the disability confident approach? So recruitment timelines, expected hiring volumes, and details about workplace support would also help us to make sure we get the right fit for our employers. And by consolidating actions into this one clear step, we can ensure a smoother employer journey, enhance the efficiency really of matching candidates to quality employment opportunities. So I'm just going to pop up there now a map of the area that we cover. So Lancashire and Cheshire. So all of Lancashire is covered by our job centres. Each of those job centres there in Lancashire has got an employment advisor team leader and a team surrounding them who can come out, engage with you, engage with the businesses, and offer that sort of detailed support really. Our role here is to try and support the local community of Lancashire to move into effective work and sustainable work as well. That's really important. I think something we used to look at across DWP was sort of the ABC approach, any job, better job, career. And now what we're looking to do is to make sure we've got the right person with the right fit, with the right skills, so we can have that sustainable employment, which is really important. We can share this presentation later, but all the contact details are there across Lancashire, so you will have copies of that. But that was in a nutshell this morning. I know I was only sort of given 5 minutes, and apologies if that was a little bit rushed. But just about the offer, it's a really good offer, and we can tailor it to your needs. And if there's any questions at any point, either drop them in the sidebar or by all means drop me an email. And thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Steve. That was really useful and interesting. And yeah, please do put, if you have any questions at all, just put them in the Q&A. And we're going to try and get to them at the end. Right, without further ado then, I'm going to pass over to Vanessa Carthy from Lancashire County Council. So while Vanessa gets her presentation up, I just want to remind everyone that we will be sharing everything from the webinar today. So if you're busy trying to scribble down information from the slides, don't worry about that at all. All the information and contact details will be shared after the webinar. Over to Vanessa.
Okay, morning everybody. As it says on the screen, Vanessa Carthy, Learning Development Manager for Careers at Lancashire County Council. And if anybody looks at my LinkedIn profile, it'll say I'm the Apprentice and Growth Manager, and that probably explains more of my role than the role that's on screen at the moment. Sally, if you could just move on to the next slide, please. I only do have this slide in terms of going through what my perspective is, or what the employer's perspective is on the apprenticeships and the apprenticeship levy. So I've broke it into a few sections really, and I'll try not to go over my allocated 6 minutes if possible. So in terms of our strategic investment, in terms of the council, we are made up predominantly of social care, and that's where the majority of our levy funding goes. But there are emerging roles that come out of operating the levy in terms of other areas, which is what I called our protected professions. So if you look at kind of the legal terminology for protected professions, it's more of those qualified teachers, doctors, social worker roles. But in the council, I have a different term in terms of protected professions, and that because we are predominantly social care, I include things in terms of what's really at the coalface of our staffing team, which are things like care assistants, infrastructure in terms of our highways, and things that keep Lancashire moving in terms of those skills that we need in the council. So we have really good programmes in terms of some of those protected professions, in terms of social workers. We've had a programme running for social workers for a number of years now. That actually meets our workforce needs as well, and reduces our agency costs, in that we are now growing our own social workers very successfully, and that is actually providing a real return for the council at the moment. In our teachers side as well, so we have a programme for teachers, and that is obviously helping in terms of Lancashire be able to grow our own teachers as well, who are working in schools at the moment, which we upskill then via the teacher apprenticeship to undertake their training, become our teachers of the future. In terms of some of the other things that we need to be looking at Lancashire County Council is more about our digital offer. We're hearing a lot about AI at the moment in terms of apprenticeships, and certainly that is something that we want to develop at the council, and that is a particular challenge that we have at the moment in terms of available standards, but working with really good providers in Lancashire to try and meet that need. Our theme this week for National Apprenticeship Week is return on investment. So we've steered a little way from the national themes to make it really more about what Lancashire County Council are doing and what our managers want to see. We have a showcase event that's happening in a few weeks where we will have all of our top 5 providers come in and showcase their relationship with us, what they provide, and then actually showcase what their return is with apprentices. Also, in terms of some of the challenges that we have at the moment, I think we're moving a little bit away from that return on investment challenge. Yes, that is obviously an issue in terms of backfilling roles, but I think now people are more seeing that return on investment, which then I suppose mitigates that off the job hours and working, I suppose, in terms of backfilling roles. So we actually seeing a return. So we are mitigating the conversation internally about off the job with those kind of off the job hours conversations. Available standards as well. We're finding there are more available standards that we can use in some of those emerging roles. But then also in terms of providers, we are finding that providers are terming some of the standards differently to try and pitch them in a way that it's, you know, either appropriate for a different setting, for education settings or for digital settings. And an example of that is obviously we've got DTS level 6 as an apprenticeship, and we are having things that are kind of muddying the waters a little bit about having that kind of standard being pitched as an AI engineer, when really when you scratch the surface it is the standard that is available, which is a DTS with some kind of pathway built into it. We're finding that really useful, whilst it's been a little bit confusing initially. So things like our teaching assistant, if we can build in a send pathway to that, but it's still the apprenticeship with just a different pathway in it, a different avenue to be able to explore. We're doing more work with our providers to be really authentic but collaborate in terms of what that standard looks like and how we interpret that for us. We need to manage the expectations of our managers and apprentices and providers. I've already mentioned we've got top 5 providers we call them. I think it's really important in terms of that relationship, whilst it's a commercial relationship, we get more out of the relationship if it's really collaborative and authentic, so we can have those sit down conversations to say this is the standard and this is what we need out of that standard. So we really value those relationships whilst being commercial. The collaboration that they provide to us is really, you know, reaping some rewards there. In terms of doing things differently, so we are trying to encourage managers when they're doing restructures or looking at vacancies to have more entry-level roles. In the council we've done quite a lot of upskilling, but we do need to focus on our entry-level roles, and things like LGR will probably have outcomes where there is opportunities for existing staff, but hopefully opportunities for young people coming to the organisation as well. Just aside from the apprenticeships, we do support on T levels, and we are holding student and teacher encounters that's contributing towards our modern work experience offer as well. Reward, just in terms of my last point, in terms of reward, we are focusing more on what the return is for the council. So obviously apprentices are earning and learning at the same time. But in terms of the reward for us, we're seeing really good projects coming through our chartered manager degree apprenticeships and projects and data analysts, where we are becoming more informed as a data organisation, informed by our data in terms of our strategies and way forward. And in terms of our chartered manager degree apprenticeships, also informing some of our processes in terms of the way we work, but also informing some of the dashboard needs that we have to inform our ways of thinking, how to think differently, how to spend the levy differently, so that all of the apprentices that we have, all the apprenticeships that we have, are now providing a return where we can then measure against the levy spending, what actually the return is for the council. Again, working with our providers, that collaboration is really important, and we rely on them quite a lot as well to tell us about how they see the return for apprentices and for the organisation. In terms of our perspective, though, in terms of an organisation, we see the value in the apprenticeship levy. It isn't going anywhere. It is absolutely developing our staff. I have the best job in the world in terms of seeing the reward of our apprentices coming through and what we achieve and what the investment is for the council. And we're going to do more of it, and it's getting bigger and bigger in terms of how we develop our staff. We've got 750 apprentices on roll at the moment. We work with 65 standards, 5 main providers, but we also have other providers within Lancashire who are delivering great quality apprenticeships for us as well. I've put my details in the chat if anybody wants a conversation afterwards or wants to have an approach in terms of how we're working in terms of some of them standards and how we're getting that return, then certainly contact me or the team and we can have further discussions with you. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Vanessa. That was really rich information there. And I think what really jumped out at me there was, you know, talking about that strategic workforce investment. It is an investment, isn't it? And for any business, and you know, obviously looking at something the size of Lancashire County Council to a small business, an SME, that strategic workforce investment is the same. It's thinking about, you know, what your future needs are, and also that collaboration with a provider to be able to shape it. Like you say, you know, there are standards, but then we can help shape them together to make sure those pathways meet the employer's needs. Lovely, thank you. So I'm going to just go on because we've got a couple of questions in the chat which I'd love the panel to answer before we close the webinar. So we've got a question here: how do skills support routes connect together locally so we don't get bounced around? That's an excellent question. Sara, I think it feels like a Sara question.
Well, I suppose the easiest way that we can recommend it would be to come to the Skills Pledge, because we have that helicopter view of the provision available across Lancashire. So we work with all the colleges and independent training providers that deliver apprenticeships from Lancashire, and not just apprenticeships, but that wider skills initiatives. So we are able then to offer that impartial advice and guidance and be able to then signpost you to the most appropriate provision based on the information that we have. So you know, you may be local to you know, Blackpool and Fylde College, but they might not be able to offer you what you need. It might be sort of a mixture of the two, but we can have that conversation and do our best to signpost you to the most appropriate provision based on what you asked for.
Brilliant, thanks, Sara. And I think it's that, you know, it's simplifying that complicated landscape, isn't it? And I think what you do is join up everything. It's that joining up between skills and employment, isn't it? Which is crucial, and simplifying it. I'm going to go on to the next question. So we want to upskill existing staff. Where do we start and what's realistic? Vanessa, could you just talk about this from your perspective and how you do this at LCC?
Yeah, of course. We at LCC initially predominantly were spending on upskilling staff, and how we've approached it is obviously in terms of skills gaps or things in terms of that have been identified that would usually go through a commercial route for training. We actually applied the levy to that in terms of, you know, services doing their own survey, I suppose, in terms of workforce plan, in terms of where the skills were needed. Obviously, we work in a very regulated business, and that predominantly our social care staff have to have some quality, robust training that satisfies statutory requirements, like in our residential settings for older people and adults. So that's a good place to start. And also via our staff survey. So our staff survey always asks a question about how staff are feeling invested in. Do they have equal opportunity in terms of access to training? So it's a good idea to start asking your staff in terms of, so what, you know, what skills do you think are missing? What do you think are, you know, in terms of delivering that service, or being up to date with kind of key legislation, what it is that you need. So we always ask our staff, ask our managers through surveys. We'll identify skills gaps, and we'll also apply our regulatory requirements as well. But upskilling is a brilliant way to invest in staff, but to also, you know, in terms of job satisfaction, and feel that they are invested in, and feel that, you know, in terms of their career, we don't have always linear pathways in organisations. Some of us who started in our role didn't start, you know, possibly me and Sarah didn't start in the roles that we are in now, and therefore definitely in the council, there is definitely evidence of pathways where people have started in one role, for example, finance, and then ended up being our social workers of the future. So it's definitely about providing opportunities to our staff as well, to show we've got that investment.
Brilliant, thanks Vanessa. And it's absolutely right, it is about staff retention, isn't it? So apprenticeships aren't just about, you know, getting the brand new 16-year-olds. It's how can you use what's available, like apprenticeships, to upskill and to keep the really good staff you've got, and to help them to develop the skills further, especially when the nature of business and the nature of work is changing so rapidly. It's important that we can keep our own staff upskilled as they go through their careers. So I'm just going to finish now. I wish we had more time for discussion and questions, but we have run over. But I just want to thank the speakers, Sara, Steve, Vanessa, for really valuable insight there, and different perspectives. And I think what's really coming through is the importance of joining up skills and employment. It is that. How do we join up? Do come and speak to your local provider about what the options are, and Lancashire Skills and Employment Hub. You know, and DWP, all the information is there. We are talking to and working with each other, so we can signpost as well if we don't have what you need. So I think it's an ideal time to explore apprenticeships. There are lots of changes happening, which are really providing fantastic incentives for employers to dip a toe into looking at apprenticeships if you haven't had one before, or coming back to and taking on more apprentices. So the conversation doesn't end here. Please do get in touch here at East Lancashire Learning Group. Do come and speak to us, and we'll be sharing our details following the webinar. But once again, thank you to our fantastic speakers this morning. That's been a really rich and informative conversation. Thank you. And
Thank you for
to everyone
inviting us. It's been
attending.
great.
Brilliant. Thank you. Thanks, everyone.